Hi everyone, it's Laura here for ModaScrap, and in today's video I'm going to share with you how to create 3 different tags with the new hanging tags dies. Before sharing the step-by-step process, I wanted to show you the products that I used today. This set here is called Funny Birdie, and there is a similar one which is called Funny Cat that I'm showing right now. These are really fun and great to create quick projects because they do not require any coloring. I then used the new hanging tags dies, and by the way, the full review of the release will happen on Facebook, on the ModaScrap Facebook page on September the 11th, so make sure to follow ModaScrap on Facebook to see all the new products that will be released. And then for my first tag, I also used the Happy Travel 6x6 paper pad, but as I'm showing right here, there is also a 12x12 paper pack available on the ModaScrap store. So we are now ready to take a look at how I created these 3 tags today. I started by die cutting 2 designs from the Happy Travel paper pad with the largest die in the hanging tag dies. Actually, later on, I will end up trimming this down using the medium-sized tag in the same set. So if you decide to reproduce this project, you can actually skip this step right now and directly cut these designs with the medium-sized tag. I wanted to create a hue on this green die cut, so I used the dashing rectangles dies. I used the largest die in the set and ran my die cut piece through my die cutting machine, and then I moved on and started working on my images. For this tag here, I decided to use the Funny Birdie stamp set, and I'm stamping it with VersaFine Onyx Black ink on some ModaScrap Woodstock white cardstock. This set here doesn't have coordinating dies, but the shapes are really easy to cut with your scissors, so this is what I did. But if you wanted to, because these stamps are mostly solid, you could also stamp them directly on your projects and you will be able to create very quick tags or cards or anything you like using these fun stamp sets. I decided to stamp one more sentiment, also from the same Funny Birdie set, again on white cardstock. And then, as I was playing around with the different elements, I decided that I didn't want the bird to have the legs, so I trimmed them off with my scissors, and I used a white gel pen to sort of hide the beginning of the legs that I had stamped. And this way he will look like he's sitting on the branch on the final tag. At this point, I decided that I wanted the scene to be not the entire tag, so I wanted it to cover just part of the tag. So I die cut my green and blue designs, so my hue and my sky, with the medium-sized tag in the hanging tags dies, and then I used the largest one to die cut this purple pattern with the arrows. To add a little bit of extra interest to the base of the tag, I used my Fluffy in the color Old Linen. I diluted it with some water and then I created some droplets with a paintbrush, and this will add texture and sparkle to the tag because Fluffies have glitter in them. I created a rectangle by gluing together the 2 die cut elements that I obtained with the medium-sized tag, and then I adhered that to the base of my tag. I made sure that the size was correct to fit nicely within the base of the tag itself, and then I used some double-sided tape to adhere it down. This cute little hanger was created by die cutting one more design from the Happy Travel paper pad with the smallest die in the hanging tags set. And I think it's really cute. It's quite functional because there you can thread your ribbon through. And in my opinion, it really shows that these products are thought through. At this point, everything was ready and I could go ahead and assemble the scene on my tag. I adhered the branch and the sentiment, and here I have the little bird sitting on the branch. I have the sentiment at the top that reads, "Is it your birthday really?" And then at the bottom I have the second sentiment which reads "surprise", and the second bird and the little worm. And here is the first tag for today. For my second tag, I decided to use a more neutral palette, so I die cut the base out of some craft cardstock, and then I die cut these 3 focal points basically by combining the hanging tags dies with the dashing circles dies in the way that I showed on screen. The paper that I used for that is the ModaScrap Betulla cardstock. This has some light texture on it, like a very delicate pattern, so I thought it would add a little bit of an extra touch compared to using plain white or vanilla cardstock. To add a little bit more interest to the base, I applied my fluffy in the color Old Linen through the triangle stencil, also by ModaScrap. I set my tag aside to dry, and in the meantime I started working on the images. For this tag here I used the Funny Cat stamp set, and I stamped it with Memento Dewdrops in Rich Cocoa. I decided to use a brown ink because I felt that this color would match really nicely with the color palette that I have on my card base. And I stamped the images on the same Betulla cardstock that I used to die cut the focal elements on the tag. I stamped the fishbone too, and then I fussy cut everything with my scissors again. At this point, my fluffies were still drying on the tag base, but I wanted to go ahead and start adhering everything together, so I used sort of the negative die cut from that white cardstock as a template. I taped with some washi tape all the circles at the back, and then I could go ahead and start adhering all the images and stamp the rest of the sentiments that I want on my tag. You can think about this a little bit as a comic book style tag with the little kitties wishing you happy birthday and confessing that they might have eaten your birthday present. Right, so at this point the fluffies were dry and I could go ahead and wrap them lightly with a microfiber cloth, and this basically brings out all the glitter in the fluffy and makes them really shine. The results are hard to capture on camera, but believe me, in real life they're really stunning. So at this point I had everything ready and I could adhere the focal circles on the tag to complete my project. I have a couple of extra steps because I wanted to fill in that area at the bottom with a little bit more fluffy through my triangle stencil. And then also for this tag, I created the hanger by die cutting some Betulla cardstock and swiping my Memento Dewdrops in Rich Cocoa across it to create a hanger of the same color as my stamped images. And that was it for my second tag. For my third tag, I decided to create a fall-inspired scene, and I die cut some smooth white cardstock using the hanging tags dies and the dashing circles dies to create the base tag, a hill and a moon. And then I used my distress inks to add color to each of my scene elements. For the sky, I used seedless preserves, fired brick, and carved pumpkin. I started with seedless preserves at the top. I have the fired brick in the middle, and then the lightest and brightest color, which is the carved pumpkin at the bottom. I'm using my foam blenders to blend the inks, starting from the edges of the cardstock and moving inwards, and I'm also going back and forth on the transition areas to make sure that the colors are nicely blended and I have a smooth transition. And then, once I was done blending my inks, I added some stars to the sky by diluting some fluffy in the color Sunshine and basically flicking a paintbrush on top of the tag to create these little droplets. I dabbed off the excess and you could see there how nicely shiny these stars are thanks to the shimmer and sparkle brought by the fluffy. For the hue, I used bundled sage, and then I went in with peeled paint and a little bit of forest moss. I kept the bottom of the hue darker and the top lighter to create a sense of dimension and depth. And then for the moon, I blended my distress ink in squeezed lemonade from the edges towards the center of the moon. And then using a finger dauber, I created some patterns using scattered straw to remind a little bit the viewer of the patterns that we see on our moon. I went ahead and off camera stamped images from both the Funny Birdie and Funny Cat stamp set using Memento ink in Toffee Crunch, and I also die cut some letters to form the sentiment using the Funny Alphabet dies. These are also part of the new ModaScrap release, and just as a reminder, the full release will be reviewed on Facebook on a live on the 11th of September, so if you're interested, you can check it out there on the ModaScrap Facebook page. I assembled my scene, adhering the moon on the left of the tag and then having the branch hanging over the moon a little bit with the bird standing over the branch. I die cut the sentiment for you, and I'm using my quick glue pen, my reverse tweezers and a T-square ruler to make sure that I have the sentiment nice and aligned on my tag. And I split the sentiment so that I have the word for above the hill and a word you on the hill. I completed the scene with these two adorable kittens, and then I also added some drop shadows to make sure that they looked grounded and as they were actually standing on the hill. I used my BG3 Spectrum Noir marker and my colorless blender, and then as a finishing touch I die cut this hanger out of some black cardstock and I adhered it to the top of my tag. And that completed my third and final tag. And that's it for today. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope I inspired you to create with the really fun hanging tags dies by ModaScrap and the Funny Birdie and the Funny Cat stamp set. Don't forget to subscribe for more inspiration. Thank you all so much for stopping by and have a great day.